What's up guys, it's Scott from Grumpy Gaming HD, and today I'm doing a trilogy review of Streets of Rage on the Sega Genesis. One of my favourite nostalgic retro game series of all time. In this review we are reviewing Streets of Rage 1, 2 and 3, also known in Japan as Bare Knuckle. Now, Streets of Rage 1 was released on the Sega Mega Drive or the Genesis in 1991. It was the first installment of the Streets of Rage series, followed by 2 and 3 of course. It was also converted for the Game Gear, Mega CD, Master System, and later released on all major channels: Wii's Virtual Console, PSN, Xbox Live, Steam, iOS, you name it, it's got a version on there. And the first thing you definitely notice is the soundtrack done by Yuzo Koshiro. If I pronounce that correctly, don't stab me if it's not. Brilliant soundtrack, probably the most memorable soundtracks of any retro game you can think of. The gameplay of the Streets of Rage series is very much thankful to Golden Axe, which was released a few years before Streets of Rage 1. So there's quite a lot of dirty fighting, using bottles, poles, baseball bats, anything that you could pick up you could use as a weapon pretty much. And I loved it. It was just a simple game. But it was all about kicking dudes in the face, and that's what was the magic of Streets of Rage. Even better when you have a friend over as well. 2-player Streets of Rage was a good laugh. If you could stop punching each other, that was the only problem. And now to my personal favourite of the whole series, Streets of Rage 2. The soundtrack was absolutely phenomenal in this one, and also the gameplay. It included 2 new characters, Skate and Max Thunder. And this was probably the best version of Streets of Rage you could ever play. After taking out Mr. X in the first game, Mr. X is vowing for revenge, so you have to go there and kick his ass one more time. This game included 8 levels of pure face-kicking action, the downtown level and the baseball park being most memorable levels in the game. And in this game there was only one ending. The first game had 2 endings where you could side with either Mr. X or beat his ass. But if you challenged him to beat his ass, he would take you back 2 levels, so you had to do those 2 levels all over again, which really sucked. But I say this is my favourite version because of the sprites, the colours, the sound is just brilliant. You can't beat this. And now let's take a look at Streets of Rage 3. The last game to be released in the Streets of Rage series, and it was released in 1994, which was quite late in the Sega Genesis life, and also making this game to be quite rare. This game can fetch in excess of $50 to $80 on eBay, which is around £40 to £50. You can find this game, like I said earlier, on pretty much every popular modern console channel. So you can pick this up for a fraction of the price of the original cartridge. Luckily for me, I have the original cartridge and I got it for a nice price in a pawn shop, so that was pretty cool. Now the gameplay, to me, I love the gameplay of Streets of Rage 3 because it's a lot faster and a lot more responsive. The first game was a little bit sluggish, but as it was an early Mega Drive title, you can forgive it for that. Streets of Rage 2 was quite good, but it's still a little stiff, while Streets of Rage 3 had a faster combat. The only thing I didn't really like that much was the music. Yes, it was still good, it was still punchy and memorable, but it felt too harsh. Between the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo, the Mega Drive's sound chip wasn't as sophisticated as the Super Nintendo's. some noises did sound a lot harsher on the Genesis than the Super Nintendo. But this game was just more of it. It seemed like with Streets of Rage series, they just need to add more and more onto the game. Longer levels, increased difficulty, multiple endings, all that good stuff. So in conclusion, you can tell the Streets of Rage series means quite a lot to me. It's one of my favourite series of all time, and I can just pop it in any time and just play it. I just love this series, it's so good. If you want to ask me, my favourite would be the second Streets of Rage game, well worth a play. And also, there's quite a lot of fan-made games, especially Streets of Rage Remake, which is making quite a splash. It was released a few years back, and I will do a full review of that later. There's also a website called Streets of Rage Online, which has a lot of homebrew games of Streets of Rage. It's definitely worth checking out. As I said, I'm going to do a review of Streets of Rage Remake and also take a look at Streets of Rage 4, another homebrew game. There's only a demo out, but it looks so good, I'm going to show it to everybody. So stay tuned to all that, and I'll see you next time.